The Zwift Ride offers an excellent option for people looking to get more out of their indoor training or racing, and who either don't have a dedicated bike to put on their trainer or don't want to go through the hassle of taking their bike on and off. The Zwift Ride is compatible with a number of trainers on the market, but you can also buy it as a kit with the Wahoo Kickr Core. Make sure you check out the compatibility guide on the Zwift website if you're not sure if your trainer will work. Today, I'm going to show you how to mount it to a Wahoo Kickr V6. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to jump ahead to something that is super important if you're mounting this to a Wahoo Kickr V6 and you have an existing cassette. Like, you're not getting the Zwift Ride Smart Cassette, Smart Cog. It does work with a V6. It does work with an existing cassette. You'll find this documented all over the internet, but getting it to work on the cassette requires a little bit of mechanicking. For me, I was running an 11 to 28 tooth chainring, which put my 14 tooth chainring, that's the one that you'll have to mount the Zwift Ride to, in the 4th position. Now, in order for it to work on an existing cassette, it has to be in the 6th or 7th position. It has to be in the middle of the cassette. If it's not, it'll just kind of be at an angle, like it would make sense. And that means when you start riding it, it's going to go boop, 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 shift to the right position, but it's going to screw up the chain tensioner. And so that's going to drop. It's not going to work. So you have to reconfigure your cassette to get that 14 tooth chainring in the right position. Now, there's a couple ways to go about this. If you have a single speed converter, you can just pop that on and that should work okay. If you don't have one of those, you can just take apart your cassette and reassemble it so that 14 tooth is in the right spot. I had some cassette spacers around, so I just pulled off some of the smaller and larger chain rings, popped on some spacers and reassembled it. I think I had to do this twice to get it in the right spot. And once it's on and once it's in the middle, it's good to go. It looks a little janky, but I've ridden this a ton and it works just fine. If DIY cassette configuration is not your jam, you can just buy the Zwift Cog from the Zwift website online. Pop that bad boy on, good to go. Okay, I'm going to be replacing my dedicated indoor trainer bike, a State Thunderbird, with the new Zwift Ride. Removing a bike is fairly straightforward if you know how to do this, and as you can see, I got to work on removing the cassette and free hub body, which is something that you will have to do if you plan on mounting a Zwift Cog. Like I said, I didn't have a Zwift Cog, found this out later. The Ride comes in a large box with 1 to 2 smaller boxes, accessories, handlebars, things like that. It's always good to unbox everything ahead of time and read the instructions, even though the instructions don't always save you from making monumental assembly errors, which I will document shortly. The frame comes nicely packed, and if you haven't noticed yet, you will once you start to unpack it. It's heavy. It's like 30 pounds. It weighs about as much as the trainer, which makes it a little unruly to handle and get mounted onto the trainer, but also contributes to how sturdy it is and how sturdy it feels once you're on it and riding. There's a little card that advises you not to store it vertically because it can fall and hurt you, which seems self-explanatory, but I'm guessing maybe isn't. It is at this point that I noticed the Smart Cog was not included. I didn't know if this was a mistake or just something that I had missed in the instructions the first time around. It was the latter. So I got to work reinstalling the free hub body and cassette. After reinstalling that, I made my first attempt at getting the frame on the trainer. There is no derailleur, obviously, so now is the part in the process where it's worth pausing to reflect on the physics of how this thing works. I didn't do that. Instead, I requested the help of my partner to try to get it mounted because 2 people is sometimes better than 1. And like I said, this thing is a little heavy. Despite her best efforts and moral support, still didn't work. She left, obviously disgusted with my ineptitude. The chain felt legitimately too short. Like, I got it on, but the chain was pulling the frame forward of the through axles. It would pull it out of alignment. By the way, you're going to use the 142 spacer for the V6, just in case you didn't know that. I consulted Reddit, as one does in times of need, and was validated that this happened to a few other people as well. So I thought, shoot, this thing is like funky. I've got like a mismanufactured one. That wasn't the case. I reviewed the instructions again. I literally just looked at a picture of it mounted and discovered my error. The way you mount this thing is to wrap the chain around the inside of the frame, like where the chain stay and the seat stay come together. There's literally a little track with a label for the chain. So you wrap it around that and then you place it on the trainer. Once it's mounted, you pull the chain into the correct position, which will be the 14-tooth chain ring if you're mounting it on an existing cassette, which you will already have assembled to be in the right position because I've already told you about that part. And then once you have that on the right spot in the cassette, you tighten the through axle and push the chain tensioning device into place. It's spring loaded. It'll snap up just as easily as it snaps down if you need to replace the chain. But since it is spring loaded, just, watch your fingers. And that's it. Ta-da! Give it a spin. Just spin the crank to make sure everything is aligned properly. After you have it mounted, honestly, the rest of the assembly process is super straightforward. Zwift, the Ride, actually includes a nifty little Allen key that just magnetically attaches to the bottom of the top tube. And that's the only tool that you need to adjust literally anything on this bike. The handlebar assembly goes in first, and then the handlebars kind of go in. It's like a sandwich, followed by the end cap, or if you got the tablet holder like I did, that's where the tablet holder will go. The handlebars can move forward and backward as well as up and down. And then the saddle, which comes pre-installed, moves up and down so you can adjust the height. If you have a fit kit done or measurements, it's super easy to make this thing fit you perfectly. And the height range, I think, is like 5 foot to like 6'6". So this bike is gonna fit most people. And I gotta say, after I fixed the cassette spacing and actually got on it to ride, I'm super impressed. It's more than just a dedicated frame. The cockpit and the play controllers really bring the game to you and make the experience much easier and immersive in Zwift. There's a lot less clicking around on your laptop or the companion app, and it makes the game immediately easier and more enjoyable to be in. A lot of people have mentioned having issues getting their play controllers to pair, and I actually ran into this myself too. But once I updated the firmware on the controllers and on my trainer, it was good to go. You do want to make sure that your trainer is connected first in Zwift, and make sure that it's connected over Bluetooth before trying to pair the play controllers. They will only pair if the trainer, which also has to be compatible, like V6 is compatible right now, V5 not compatible. But once that trainer is connected over Bluetooth, these things should connect right away. Once you have them set up in the companion app, you can change and customize basically everything about the controllers themselves, what you want the buttons to do. And it's just a really, really neat, cool evolution of the gamification of indoor cycling, indoor training, and virtual racing. I see the Zwift Ride filling a major gap in the market, especially for people looking to level up their indoor trainer from something, say, a Concept 2 biker, a Peloton, an air bike, but who may not have the pockets to dive in on a full-blown, many thousands of dollars smart bike. Maybe they don't have a bike for their indoor trainer, or maybe they don't have a bike at all, but they want to get inside and do some real dedicated cycling work in the off season or in the summer or whenever. For the cost, it's less than Concept 2 biker and offers more flexibility and, more importantly, the ability to create an elite level training stimulus that I would say matches the best setups out there for a fraction of the cost. And because it's so customizable, you can share this thing with family members and really good friends who maybe aren't exactly your height. So who knows? This thing could be the reason why someone gets into cycling if they're not, already a cyclist. So I think this is just amazing. Big thanks to Zwift for sending a ride over for us to test and use. And you can bet that you'll see this thing in a lot of videos coming up.